I was asked, and maybe I should say, Madame, I was sitting Friday evening, having dinner, and I got a call. Are you Mr. Nakuta? And I said, yes, I am. By the way, I'm not yet doctor. I'm a few months away from doctor. So I'm Mr. Nakuta. So I got a call. And the caller said, where do we deliver your invitation letter? I said, what? Yes, you are invited. I've got a letter for you to participate and to present a paper at the land conference. Now, I don't know why that letter came. Was it because of what I wrote on Friday? In other words, is my invitation, because on Friday, in Friday's paper, I had an opinion piece titled, Not in Our Name. And I raised some of the issues raised here. And I'm asking myself, was my invitation an afterthought? But even if it was, I'm saying here, as a Christian, I do not believe in things that happen by coincidence. So maybe it was necessary for me to be here to say exactly what I want to say.
Okay, amen.
How do I address the situation? I'm doing this in honor of, and I shouldn't get emotional, my mom, Mickey Nontutuzelo Nakuta, passed away last month.
Oh, okay.
Exactly, I shouldn't. I told myself I will not. Exactly 12:30 on the 12th of August. I had the privilege to take off the thingy that she had to breathe, and I had the privilege, given my relationship with her, to send her off very calmly. And on the 19th of August, when we were burying her and I did her eulogy, I took a deep oath, deep inside myself. And I told this lady, I will forever preserve your legacy. There were things that you taught me, and amongst them is to say, tell the truth, no matter how that is received. And also to be on the side of justice, to detest any form of injustice. And it is in that spirit that I'm dedicating my presentation to Mickey Nontutuzelo Nakuta. Having said that, and that was basically the disclaimer. The disclaimer in the sense that says, even thou very respectfully, because that's also what she taught me. You may differ, but you do it in a respectful manner. Yeah. And I will differ today very civilly, with all due respect. But I will still say, I took a side, not a political side, but I took the side of justice in addressing the topic that I was given. I'm structuring my presentation along those lines. I'm also starting by dispelling some myth when it comes to ancestral land. I'll speak as the gist of my presentation is to speak about ancestral land within the context of public international law, but specifically given my speciality on international human rights. I took a special effort, I made a special effort to look at what international treaty bodies said about Namibia and Namibia's failure to address the question of ancestral land. I took special effort to do a little bit of research as an academic to look at some best practices when it comes to addressing the issue of ancestral land. And I'm closing off by looking at 8 best steps proposed by the Human Rights High Commission in addressing land rights in general. And lastly, I'm concluding with recommendations. Dispelling some of the myth. The one that we've heard last week, that ancestral land is equals to Bantustan. Not so. The fact is, ancestral land and territories predates colonialism and Bantustans. When they came here, they found our people here. They saw land not occupied by people. And they said, this is, in Latin, a res nullius, meaning in normal, simple Afrikaans, niemands land. And for that reason, they took hold of that land. Meanwhile, the San, the Damaras, the Overhero people, and many others, the numbers that I'm not mentioning them, they were already here. So it was not niemands land. That is the reality. In fact, Bantustans came in very recently, long after our people were born here. The second one is that the current legal framework does not provide for entertainment of ancestral land. With all due respect, I do not agree. Yes, ancestral land is not expressly recognized in our Constitution. But guess what? On the 26th of May, 2017, the African Court on Human and People's Rights said, given the fact that Article 14 of the African Charter recognizes, and let me run to that, so as to, I'll get to that. Can we read it then? African Article 14 says, there at the back, at the end, the right to property shall be guaranteed. It may only be encroached upon in the interest of public needs or in the general interest of communities in accordance with the provisions of appropriate laws. The Okil people took the Kenyan government to court on the grounds that the Kenyan government does not want to recognize their ancestral land. In fact, wants to evict them out of the Mau forest. Meanwhile, Kenya ratified the African Charter, which recognizes that right to property. The African Court on Human and People's Rights said the following: the right to property should not be seen like the Europeans are seeing it. Because the Europeans were seeing it only from an individual point of view. But last year, the African Court said in no uncertain terms, the right to property as guaranteed under Article 14 of the African Charter includes both private as well as collective rights. Similarly, Article 144 of our Constitution is saying all international agreements ratified by our government and parliament automatically forms part of our land. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. It is not enough. It is not enough. What is the right word now? Even now, it is not expressly recognized in the Constitution. It is brought in through the provisions and operations of Article 80. So, I respectfully disagree. Ancestral land can be argued in Namibia. Also, human rights are said to be indivisible. What does it mean? Indivisible in the context of saying that all rights are interrelated. You cannot say you respect the human dignity of people and yet you do not acknowledge their ancestral land. You cannot say you respect or you acknowledge and guarantees your constitution guarantees the right to culture and yet you do not recognize their ancestral land. Lastly, you cannot say that you are not discriminating. Actually, I want to go further. I'm taking way too much time. I'm going to that. That's my last one. I'm not going to go through that. Mr. Moderator, what I've done, but the slides would show it. I've looked at the concerns from an international point of view. Since 2005, consistently, maybe I should do the first one and not go through all of it. That's the first one. Since 2005, missions has been coming to Namibia. The first mission that came to Namibia was the African Working Group on Indigenous Populations, communities, populations and communities. And they observed the following. Only two, the coup and the icon of of Tumpe district, today control their ancestral land, now state-owned communal land, and thus have access to natural resources. Their recommendations. The Sun should be provided, and that is not the recommendations to the Namibian government. The Sun should be provided with communal land that they can call their own. The protection on expansion of land rights is one of the most fundamental interventions that can be made. And this continued until 2016 from various bodies. 2005, 2016, the last two being the International Covenant on the committee responsible for the International Covenant on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights, as well as the committee responsible for the International Convention on Economic, Social and Cultural Rights. That is what they are saying. And they make very specific recommendations. I'm concluding by jumping to my recommendation. there are some best practices followed somewhere. Having said all this, I'm saying the issue of ancestral land obviously called for out-of-the-box thinking. However, it is a human right being recognized, and I didn't mention it, first of all by Convention 169 of the ILO, which Namibia committed to sign but haven't yet signed, and also under the United Nations Declaration for Indigenous Peoples' Rights, UNDRIP, in terms of section Article 26. So it is a rights issue, no doubt about it. And for that reason, the state is having an obligation to respect, protect, and to fulfill the full enjoyment of ancestral land in the country. It calls, amongst others, for a serious overhaul and audit of some of our constitutional provisions. Section 16, amongst others, that only provides for individual property rights, must be looked at, because the Constitution says, even though you may not reduce, you can always improve. Article 100 is a serious problem. It is very opposite what the Uganda Constitution is saying. Article 267 of the Ugandan Constitution, for example, is saying, land belongs to the people. Our Constitution is saying, land which is not privately owned belongs to the state. Also another good practice, the queer community that are living in the Bafota Park, National Park, learn from the government, in this case, legislators, learn from Botswana. Botswana is saying in their constitution, the right to free movement can be limited. When it comes to national parks, you don't have the right to freely move. But the constitution says the Bushman people have the right to freely access and the right to resettle. It's good practices. It's not the case for the queer community in this case. Lastly, I'm saying the question of ancestral land, Your Excellency, requires bold and active leadership. And I may be out of place here, but I feel very comfortable in saying this. In 2014, we gave you a mandate. And believe it or not, I was one of those people that said, I want Hage Godfrey Geinko to be my leader. And we are saying, we want to preserve your legacy. We want to remember you as the person that took of ancestral land. Because we want you to remember your legacy. With that, thank you very much.
Gari kutuke chirange, komrenta utangari kutuke chirange.